Okay, I think we can get started here. Thanks for your patience, everyone. It always takes a moment to get the spaces up and running. It's pretty glitchy sometimes. So this is the GnosisDAO Community Call for the month of March 2023. Today we're joined by Gleb, a contributor at Balancer and Tritanium. We've got some exciting news about Balancer and Gnosis Chain that we'd like to share. But before we do that, we'll just run through a few announcements here. And first, we have announcements from Gnosis Chain. And like I mentioned earlier, Felipe from the Validator Relations team is on the call to talk about the upcoming Shanghai upgrade. So I'll hand it over to you, Felipe, to talk about that.
Hey, thank you. So a quick update from the core dev side, I guess, of Gnosis Chain. Similarly to Ethereum, we're going to go through the Shanghai, but also Capella hot forks. So Shanghai being on the execution layer and Capella on the consensus layer. And so basically the main idea is to get withdrawals out there, right? So exactly like on Ethereum, if you're a validator and got some rewards by validating, right now, be it on Ethereum or on Gnosis, there's no way to withdraw those rewards, or actually even the 32 ETH or the 1 GNO in Gnosis' case. And so this upcoming hard fork will make this possible. So there's no date set for it yet, but hopefully it will not be much later than Ethereum. There are a few differences. As on Gnosis, basically the GNO token used to validate is not the native token. So basically, technically, there are a few differences from Ethereum. But yeah, we will have a fairly similar chain in the end, and that's really not much more to say. So for the user, it will be very much the same for Gnosis and Ethereum. The tools will be the same. As now, I mean, Lighthouse, Nimbus, all of those clients, consensus layer clients will be the same. The exit strategies will be the same. Withdrawals will be the same. So it's exactly the same for users than on Ethereum, except it will come in a bit later, and we only have Aragon and Netherminds for now on the execution layer. But hopefully that will improve later down the road as well. So yeah, that's mostly it.
Cool. Thank you, Felipe. And we will now go over a few updates, a few governance updates. Quick note, Terra Zero, I sent you a speaker invite, so just check your DMs there, and you can come up on the stage and talk about your GIP in a second. Yeah, so governance-related updates. The forum will see a redesign. So on Monday the 13th, the forum will be closed, and it will undergo a redesign. So look out for a fresh new design on Tuesday the 14th. Also just to rewind real quick, to build off of what Felipe was saying, we'll be putting out tutorials about the Shanghai upgrade in the next week or so. So look out for those. Yeah. So governance updates. The forum is getting a redesign, and then in other news, we just put up a forum post about the BNB and Gnosis Chain bridge, which is being shut down essentially due to low traffic and non-native assets on each chain. USD from BNB and USD from Ethereum. So an alternative bridging solutions are possible. The bridge team has decided to decommission the bridge. So on Monday, March 6th, we reached out to the Gnosis Chain community on Discord and Telegram to communicate the closure of the bridge. So just sharing that here as well. To ensure a smooth transition, the bridge team will follow a two-step approach. On March 27th, 2023, the bridge team will disable incoming transactions from BNB to Gnosis Chain. But users can still bridge from Gnosis Chain to BNB during that time. the list of tokens that can be bridged during the time can be found on the forum where this post is up and live. And then on June 5th, 2023, the bridge team will completely decommission the bridge, including both directions. So if you're a user or a team building applications on top of the BNB Gnosis Chain AMB, please contact us. You can find our contact information on the forum, or if you're on our Discord, you can contact us there by just opening a support ticket. So yeah, important announcement. Go ahead and check it out on the forum if you'd like to learn more. Alrighty, so let's go over a few governance updates. I still don't see the TerraZero friends here on the call. So we'll skip over that GIP until they're back. Yeah, so a phase 1 proposal that's up on the forum right now: should GnosisDAO fund P2P Pandas off-chain solution for secure group encryption? It's a cool project. It's completely on-chain group chat that's fully encrypted. The group chat is a proof of concept and template for future applications serving the Gnosis community. And it's also related to humans of Gnosis, or I'm sorry, got a little confused there. And then another relevant discussion up on the forum is Humans of Gnosis, an experimental circles group currency. That's an active discussion, so check that out. And then recent snapshot activity, GIP 75. Should GnosisDAO retroactively fund POC-powered public RPC endpoints for Gnosis Chain? That failed to pass quorum on March 1st, 2023. POC-powered is a public Gnosis Chain RPC endpoint. So check that out if you'd like to learn more. All right, do we have the TerraZero guys here? We do not. All right, well, we can circle back if they come back on the call, and we can talk about their GIP. Let's turn it over to Gleb and Tritanium. We're also joined by Sentinomics and Joaquin from Karpatki. Karpatki is a DAO that manages the Gnosis DAO treasury, and they were heavily involved in working with Balancer to launch the upcoming boosted pools. So yeah, why don't we just start off by having Gleb and Tritanium introduce yourselves, and then we can turn it over to Sentinomics and Joaquin. You can introduce yourselves, and then we'll kick off a discussion about Balancer and Gnosis Chain. So Gleb, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here. Yeah, I'm glad I'm a contributor at GnosisDAO. I try to help out with content, Twitter spaces, and community moderation. Really excited about this upcoming launch on Gnosis Chain. Looking forward to chatting about it in a bit.
Yeah, hey, and I'm Tritium. I'm a member of the Balancer Maxis, kind of mostly focused on multi-sig operations and implementing stuff and getting things done. So I've been spending a lot of time working on recently getting everything provisioned on Gnosis Chain and just getting everything set up from our end, from kind of a technical point of view.
Hello, everybody. This is Joaquin from Karpatki. And yeah, I'm part of the treasury management team, and I'm quite involved in the GnosisDAO treasury. So yeah, I'm also thrilled about this amazing milestone that we are reaching at this time, and very excited about what it's about to bring.
Hey everyone, Santinomics here, also from Karpatki. Yeah, very excited to see what we are about to achieve here. Bringing Balancer to the Gnosis Chain ecosystems is such a good milestone for everyone. I'm really looking forward to the future and to see what all users can do with the boosted pools over there.
Awesome. Yeah, so Balancer is a decentralized finance protocol. It's revolutionized the DeFi landscape by providing access to secure infrastructure for liquidity applications. And Karpatki, a well-known crypto treasury development team, has leveraged Balancer's algorithmic rebalancing boosted pools functionality, making it a powerful tool for managing assets in the rapidly growing DeFi ecosystem. So I guess let's talk to Santinomics and Joaquin, who authored or Karpathy authored the proposal with Balancer. Why did you approach Balancer to kind of bootstrap liquidity on Gnosis Chain?
Well, the reason was mainly because we are all aware of how massive Balancer team has grown so far and the opportunities that this whole system can provide. They, as you said, John, they sort of revolutionized the industry by providing new alternatives for users to implement different options, right? So the idea of adding more assets in the same pool, for example, really allows you to sort of mitigate some risk and diversify your funds. So we believe it's an amazing opportunity for the Gnosis chain to include these sort of features into them. And we hope that this will also bring a lot of attention to the chain and eventually bring more people in. We see a lot of opportunity in allowing the users to have a more friendly way to play around with their funds.
Yeah, and I can also add the fact that improving capital efficiency is so important for DeFi today, for all the users. And I think Balancer is clearly leading the way on with the boosted pools. So with this solution on the Gnosis chain, I expect many users to come and deploy their funds and make use of these solutions that were not available yet. So it's great to see them.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I would add is my perception is that very much there's kind of like we're friends, right? There's a tight alignment between the Balancer and Gnosis ecosystem. So, for example, there's very, very, very tight integration with CowSwap. Actually, it's at the point now where you can actually swap right into vaults from CowSwap with any asset without even using like the Balancer pool UI. So there's the really tight kind of CowSwap integration, right? We're working with Karpathy to manage our treasury. And I kind of think like we've always been working pretty tightly together. And then on Gnosis Chain, there is a CowSwap, right? There's like all of the opportunities to do that kind of tight integration that we did on mainnet. So I just think to a certain extent, it's like we can do a lot of cool stuff pretty easily because we've already laid the groundwork.
For sure. And Gleb, anything to add from the Balancer side, just in terms of, working with Gnosis and the Karpathy team?
Sure. I mean, I know that Gnosis has a fantastic community. I'm actually a lower community of Discord, and I do think that bringing Balancer to Gnosis Chain is going to be wonderful in terms of people just getting more access to DeFi and kind of like expanding to Gnosis Chain. Really makes a lot of sense considering how much traction L2s have been getting lately. So yeah, I think both our communities will really like it, and I'm happy that Karpathy is part of it because this is a huge feat, and to pull this off, you need a lot of work and a lot of coordination. So this is really impressive, and I'm just really happy that it's coming together and the launch is going to happen really soon.
Cool. So let's just talk about kind of the dynamics of the pools that you're offering. What is a boosted pool, and also, the pools are automatically rebalancing, if I am correct. Can you talk about what that is, and maybe we can talk to Karpathy about why that's attractive.
Give Gleb a minute. Okay. So let's see. Fundamentally, what boosted pools do. So, in a lot of dexes, and particularly like pool 2 type dexes where you have like a wide curve, right? Most of the liquidity is just sitting there most of the time, right? You're trading kind of like on where you're at in the curve, but most of the liquidity on the outer edges, it's not going to be accessed for quite a while, and it's sitting there doing nothing. So the idea of boosted pools was to figure out a way to get a good chunk of the assets at rest in any given AMM pool to put it at work somehow. So like I think one of the examples of that we're using on Ethereum, and one of the most basic ones, is just an Aave boosted pool, right? So you can imagine you've got USD in a pool. Most of it is sitting at rest. It's not trading. Let's make it real easy and think about like a USD pool too. So something that, isn't a stable swap, right? Like if you go 50% or 100% out on price, you're probably not going to be trading with those tokens right now. So what the boosted pools do is allow us to put that deposit that into Aave and start earning yields on that. And then those yields are captured and kind of fed back through the system in a bit of a special way, in which some of it goes to fees to the DAO, and then some of it is actually used to like pay incentives on like hidden hands back to encourage more VE bell voting, right? Which in a sense gives you like an amplification of the reward. So if you were to pay out $1 in emission, I think right now in Aura, and you do need Aura, which will be coming cross-chain, but if you pay the incentives, then you're getting like $3 in value out. So basically, the whole boosted pool system is kind of using this whole vote market in order to just, on its own, automatically kind of spin up the pool and continue to feed more rewards in and attract more deposits as more liquidity flows in. I think the other side of that was the auto-adjusting thing, right? So somehow then you have to know how many of these tokens you want in Aave, right? Because if somebody goes and tries to swap for dollars and everything, there's too many tokens deposited on Aave. It is possible, but they're going to spend a lot of gas dealing with all of this extra stuff to pull it out of Aave and rebalance the pool. So the part of the boosted, I can slow down for a minute. Are we all still following?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so the part of the boosted pool, I guess, that enables this is this thing called a linear pool. And basically what that is a pool that allows like zero fee, zero slippage trading within a range. So imagine you've got a linear pool with, say, USDC and Aave USDC, right? It will, for the most part, allow that to just be traded very, very, very cheaply, very low gas, very uncomplicated with no fees. If that pool then starts to get out of range, so you say, okay, this should be at least, 30% real dollars, right? So that there's some liquidity there. If it starts to get out of range, right, then there starts to be like a fee. It starts to open up an arbitrage opportunity for somebody to bring it back into range. And then very quickly an arb comes and, does the work on Aave to go take some dollars out of Aave and swap them back out to bring the pool back into balance. So basically the linear pools are a way to kind of just use the arbitrage market to ensure that there is enough of the liquid asset that people want to trade sitting there, right? So that everything can happen with like low gas and the pool works efficiently. And I think that's kind of the gist of it. Maybe Karpatki can talk a little bit more about the specific boosted pools like that we're standing up on Gnosis and why.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I just want to quickly add before we turn it over to Karpatki, I just want to highlight that all the tokens in those pools will be wrapped through the lending market of Agave, which is a fork of Aave, but it's all on Gnosis. So this is a big effort to bootstrap liquidity on Gnosis Chain to bring deep liquidity to Gnosis Chain through those boosted pools. So let's turn it over to Karpatki. And also, just from my perspective, I'm interested to know, from like a risk management perspective, why these pools are attractive to Karpatki and how do they approach managing risk with these pools?
Absolutely, yes. But I think like Triton really summed it up quite nicely. I can see two perspectives for this whole approach. On one end, we have more of the liquidity provider or the investor, if you will, point of view, where, as Triton was saying, you can be able to sort of capture a little bit of extra yield because of this integration with some lending protocols. And of course, this is very attractive because you can get a little bit more for the same amount. also when you participate in the governance end of things, you can actually be more efficient with your rewards and emissions allocations. And on the other hand, we have like more of the user perspective in where this brilliant solution really allows for you to sort of reduce or at least control a little bit the impact of a swap. So eventually you can end up with more yield on one hand, and then a more efficient way of swapping the assets that you're dealing with. So between these two is why we felt it was a great idea to incorporate them into, like formally incorporate them into this whole Gnosis Chain ecosystem. In terms of risks, and yes, as you were saying, so we have the Aave fork, which is Agave on Gnosis, and the idea is to have everything in the same place. This is what we are aiming for. And on one hand, we have Balancer that allows you, as I said in the beginning, to sort of diversify your funds by being in pools that have a lot of assets. And it's very efficient the way, as Triton was explaining, how they play with this lending allocation. So it's almost always available for you to make your claim. So when you put it all together, this is a very pretty solution from a treasury management perspective to sort of deal with your capital in a safe and efficient way.
Yeah, just to build upon what Joaquin said, this solution has been extensively battle tested on mainnet, and we see how successful it is. So we were looking forward to bringing it to the Gnosis chain. We are looking for capital efficiency without incurring in additional risk. You know, we always measure those two variables, and we think it's a great solution that will help our treasuries get more sustainable yield over time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other really interesting point that was brought up there is, Gnosis is a pretty new chain, and so you need lots of liquidity, right? For it to become a functional thing, there needs to be pretty deep DEX liquidity, and there also needs to be some pretty deep borrowing liquidity of key assets. And so I think the other thing that's interesting is just for the chain itself, right? This allows one deposit to kind of tick two boxes, right? So you're building up the ability to swap at the same time as the ability to borrow, right? Which I think, yeah, can really help accelerate things if it goes well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the building blocks in building a DeFi ecosystem is a lending market. We have Agave, but we're relatively new chain and definitely in need of some deeper liquidity. Can you? I know you touched upon it, Santinomics, but can you just talk about risk management? Maybe it's a boring topic for some, but I think it's interesting. How do you think about like impermanent loss with these pools, or how do you mitigate risk overall when you have exposure to these boosted pools? I guess from the perspective of Kropatki and not like an LP.
I can take this one. So the main thing that I think that really helps with impermanent loss is the feature of having weighted pools with Balancer, right? I believe this is what really makes a difference. By allowing you to sort of diversify the way you want to allocate, and the specific weight for each asset allows you to have less or more exposure to what can change, right? So for example, we are not just sitting in equally distributed pools, like a 50-50, for example, but we also have the option to create, I don't know, an 80-20 or 35-65. You can really, it offers a lot of versatility. And again, for providing liquidity, so when you want to launch a token, for example, or you want to sort of reduce the exposure to how the price would impact when you make several swaps. This feature of allowing you to redistribute the weight each asset has is what really makes the difference. So this is something that I believe I didn't mention in the beginning, but this is also one of the key features that I believe that Balancer has to offer. And this is also why we find it fundamentally important when considering this whole liquidity provision idea or concept.
Very cool. Okay. Well, looking forward, when are these pools going to be launched? This is next week, right? Correct?
That's the plan. Yes. So the idea is to go live on Monday. From the Gnosis perspective, we started to play around a little bit with the pools and just providing some initial liquidity so everybody is able to start using the product. So yeah, very, very excited about this. It was incredible to see that we were playing with Balancer on Gnosis Chain. It's amazing.
And from what I'm reading, the assets that will be prioritized are GNO, WETH, Wrapped BTC, XDAI, and USDC. Do I have that right?
Yes, correct. So initially, at least, this of course, it will take some time to build, but we are just trying to begin with the more common assets. And of course, we need to push for GNO as well. So the idea is to start with some stable coins, Bitcoin and Ether. This is again to provide liquidity, but anybody's able to create a pool and start just moving funds.
Yeah, I think we snuck USDT in there too. But in our experience, right, there's a ton of USDCT volume. And so having that in these like 3 pools really just increases the trading fees.
Yeah, I'm reading that there's the boosted USD pool. So that's if I have this correct, DAI, USDC, and USDT,
Yep.
Which should have an APR range of anywhere from 2 to almost 5%, which is crazy.
That's how we do it.
Let's quickly talk about Balancer's composability and just overall ecosystem. So we talked about the boosted pools, but can we quickly touch on Aura Finance? I know you talked about that, Tritanium. What is Aura Finance?
Sure. So I don't know like how many people Curve, so if you know Curve and Convex, Aura is kind of to Curve or to Balancer to VE-BAL like Convex is to VE Curve, right? So fundamentally VE-BAL or Balancer, in order to vote with VE-BAL and participate in governance, you have to lock an 80-20 Balancer BPT for up to a year. And that locking VE curve style can only be done normally in an EOA, right? So in a non-smart contract wallet. And so historically, like DAOs and the people that actually want to incentivize liquidity for their pools tend not to want to keep like millions of dollars in locked BAL sitting in, like on a ledger somewhere. So what Convex kind of did, and then like what Aura is doing for VE-BAL is basically creating a wrapper that makes that easier to use for DAOs, whereby they basically are accumulating tons and tons of VE-BAL in a whitelisted smart contract, right? And then they issue this Aura token, which can be used to represent the voting of this VE-BAL. And then the other side of this, which is a little bit complicated, I don't want to get way into it, is boosts on yield, right? So they also offer farming using the boost of all that locked VE-BAL, which fundamentally basically means that in most cases you're going to get a better yield on Aura than you would get anywhere else. And Aura can still take fees from that and use that to incentivize Aura-BAL. And basically, the whole thing just kind of adds a whole bunch more value to the ecosystem. So far, that's only been possible on mainnet, which is kind of, in my mind, it really has slowed down like adoption, particularly of boosted pools and to a certain extent of VE-BAL in general on on other chains. But we're moving really, really close to a layer 0 integration, in which then that should be, you know, the boost, Aura, everything should be possible on all chains. And I'm thinking that like within the next month or two, that should all be done, and like Aura should be able to be on Gnosis Chain, and we should be there.
Very cool. Yeah, you know, just kind of wrapping up here. You know, like looking into the future. Can you speculate, anyone, you know, on just you know, the future of the DeFi ecosystem, Gnosis Chain, as it relates to Balancer, and you know, where do you think all of this is going?
Oh, I can take this one. I think really this this upcoming deployment, it's really marks the first step into what is going to be, in my opinion, a very bright future. Because I do think that these pools that we talked about today are only, you know, this first batch, and then there will be more. Especially considering that Balancer has a whole bunch of different pools, and you know, they're also highly composable, so you can customize them and, you know, create pretty much whatever you want to have. And I do think that bringing more pools and more pool types to Gnosis Chain makes a lot of sense in the future, even in the medium term. And generally speaking, I do think that, you know, this integration kind of opens up a lot of possibilities for community stuff. Like, you know, sort of like, let's see what people do, because, you know, the pools are there, the contracts are there, Balance is going to be deployed on Gnosis Chain, and then I do think that we'll also see a lot of, you know, people just trying it out, maybe deploying pools, you know, maybe just sort of checking it out since it's going to be in the native UI. And yeah, I do think that this is going to lead to some more stuff, maybe something we can not really even predict now. But overall, we're really happy about this integration, really bullish on it. And yeah, glad to see that, you know, Balance's composability is coming to Gnosis Chain.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would just add is CowSwap, right? Like CowSwap's super cool. And the integration on Ethereum makes like using Balancer a very different experience, particularly if you're like using it from a smart contract or a multi-sig, a very different experience than using it on other chains, right? And there's not really a good CowSwap Balancer set up on testnet. It's like if you want to even play with that, you're kind of paying ETH gas fees and you have to operate on mainnet. So to me, like just having like a lower cost kind of like chain where there's like the full CowSwap Balancer where like all of that's bundled together is really cool. And you know, like I think as builders start to build, there's actually some interesting ways to use that composability and synergies that I'm hoping maybe we start to see like protocols working on, and like derivatives and third-party products kind of forming around. And I think Gnosis is a really good place for like that experimentation to happen.
Yeah, if I may add, I think it's all that's been said so far. I think this just keeps us moving forward, and we are just opening the door to attract more people and help the community to build more cooler or even larger stuff. The whole idea is to provide further options for all of us to keep evolving and keep building within this industry.
I have one more kind of high-level question. So I think one of the challenges of DeFi is the kind of mercenary nature of capital. Like I always call it the hot potato. So you can just literally watch this hot potato of capital moving from chain to chain. You know, what can we do as we're, you know, building out the DeFi ecosystem on Gnosis Chain to make that capital more sticky, to incentivize it to stay on Gnosis Chain rather than you know, following the larger hot potato of capital that just goes from chain to chain?
Well, I think like we are building day by day a lot of new features to help people to and actually make it a little more sticky, as you were saying, Tom. So I think the way is just to keep working on providing more options for the people to actually stay. As you say, it is an absolutely mercenary industry, as you were saying. There's vultures going here and there, but it's important to capture the key teams that are working on making a difference, and then the rest would follow. And we believe the Balancer is one of them. So it's incredible to have them on board. Once we start onboarding and expanding, I think all the rest will follow and people will stay. More people will stay. Another thing worth mentioning is, as it was said in the beginning, we are still relatively new. So it will take some time to get there, what we are looking for. So it's important to be patient at the same time. And yeah, the plan is just to go step by step, building with confidence and some security.
Yeah, I mean, these things don't happen overnight. They take time. Go ahead,
Yeah, I was
Tritanium.
going to say, I think one of the interesting things, in my perception of Gnosis Chain, and I haven't paid tons of attention, right, is that there's a lot of doubts. Like, there's people doing something on that chain other than just yield farming, right? There's a lot of people just working and managing their capital there, and they've got stuff set up, right? And so to me, if really good tools are built on top of Balancer, right? If the tools are all there to manage your capital, if you're a DAO or a small organization, right? Maybe to be able easy fiat off ramps into some exchanges, so that there's a good way to kind of on Gnosis Chain run a on-chain business, right? Then I'm not sure that you necessarily need to have the hottest yield on USD today. And maybe I think probably in a year, the hottest yield on USD will be a cross-chain thing anyway. So it's still kind of maybe about where do I want to operate from, right? And how do I want to manage my assets? And I the sense I get is that you have a lot of users that would like to operate from Gnosis, and a lot of people that would consider that. And it's just about making sure that that's easy to do.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we're coming up on an hour here. Does anyone have any final comments? Anyone from the Karpathy team?
No, I just want to say that perhaps it's interesting to just keep your eyes open. There are lots of stuff coming eventually, so it's nice, and very thankful for the Balancer team for being so supportive and addressing all of our questions. I know it's been a little bit tricky in the beginning, but we are finally there and super happy about it.
Cool. And Tritanium or Gleb, any final comments?
Yeah, I have a quick note on, even though some of the concepts we talked about might sound complicated, like boosted pools and how they work, the whole thing is actually pretty simple for you as an end user. So once, come Monday, just go to Balance and check out, Gnosis Chain on Balance, and then you can use all these pools that are going to be deployed, just like you can use any other pool. You don't have to do, anything else compared to what you usually would. It's very simple, it's very nice, but very powerful. So yeah, I just want to, kind of make this remark to make sure that people are not kind of, scared off by how fantastic these pools are, because they are. But generally speaking, they're very easy to use, and you benefit from all the stack without, having to do anything on top of what you usually would.
Absolutely. I can just run over those pools really quickly. So there's a stablecoin pool, like we mentioned earlier. It's a USDT, USDC DAI pool. There's another GNO pool that has DAI, USDC, and USDT. And then there's a WETH GNO pool. And finally, a wrapped BTC WETH USDT, USDC DAI pool. Obviously in a bear market, a stablecoin pool looks pretty nice. And the yield on that is very attractive. So check it out. If you're not familiar with Balancer, you can navigate to their platform. Let me just look it up really quick. Balancer.fi, and check them out. A DeFi liquidity protocol. And if you're not familiar with Karpathy, you can go to karpathy.com and read about them. Both teams are very close friends to the Gnosis Chain ecosystem and Gnosis in general. So, be sure to check them out. Before we go, we tried to get the Terra Zero team up here to talk about their most recent GIP on the forum, but we had some problems with Twitter Spaces. Of course, it always happens. So apologies for being distracted earlier. I was trying to get the team up here, but I'll just run through their GIP really quick. Should GnosisDAO co-fund a community-owned forest land art project by Terra Zero? This is a phase 1 proposal, so it's not actually got a GIP. It's just a temperature check. The proposal seeks GnosisDAO to become a sponsor and partner that would partially fund Terra Zero to support the development of a novel large-scale art project in Germany that focuses on community land stewardship managed by a DAO. Terra Zero is a really early NFT project on mainnet. Super cool. So check them out. Let me see if I can find their website really quick so I can give you some more info. It's terrazero.org. It's an evolving prototype built on the Ethereum network that aims to provide automated ecosystem resilience frameworks. Definitely worth checking out and reading more about. And if you'd like to read over their GIP or their phase 1 proposal, please go to the forum and check it out there. Alrighty, that does it for us. Thank you everyone for making the time. Thank you for your patience as we kind of dealt with some technical difficulties there. And we will see you next month on the second Thursday of the month. So that's April 13th. And I hope you have a great month, and everyone take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody.